Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of the Ranch Report, where transparency lives. My name is Mark Falcone, and today is Wednesday, March the 4th, 2026. Just want to let everybody know that earlier this morning, I recorded another podcast regarding the City of Highland Planning Commission decision rendered last evening on the Verizon cell tower conditional use permit. That podcast has since been posted to the channel, the Ranch Report-TRR. So if you get a chance, make sure you check out that podcast. Today, I'm just going to briefly recap everyone on just two items that came out of the budget meeting and regular board meeting last week. But first, let me just say that the views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host, yours truly, and may not reflect the views, thoughts, and opinions of East Highlands Ranch, East Highlands Ranch Board of Directors, or their managing agent, the Management Trust. So prior to March of 2025, the board had been accustomed to really having zero members attend a board meeting. And if anybody did attend, there may have been one or two, maybe three people at the most that would show up. They would speak during the public comment portion, and then they would leave the meeting. But since March of last year, we have experienced double-digit attendance month over month. And the homeowners that are coming out are not just speaking during the public comment portion, they're staying for the duration of the meeting. That tells me that members are interested in how the board operates, they're interested in their community, and they are interested in the issues that face the board. So I want to thank all of you that show up month over month, and those of you that attended last month as well. I think we had 12 or 13 people that attended both the regular board meeting and the subsequent town hall budget meeting that followed. So thank you all very much. Some of the comments that came out of the budget town hall last week were rather intense. There were, I think, two or three homeowners that were pushing back on the board as to the value that we are receiving from the management trust. Why we are paying so much when we get very little. The board president, Gary Underwood, tried to interrupt one homeowner, but this homeowner abruptly kind of had to respectfully ask him to be quiet more or less while they finished their comment. And the board president relented. But in any event, the conversation was somewhat intense, really focusing around what the board's doing, and focusing around what staff is doing and the value that we are receiving from the management trust. So if you listen to my February 18th podcast, where I shared with you the budget for fiscal year 27, in that podcast, I shared with you four different options on how I believed that we could reduce the payroll staffing of the CSO department by about $250,000, $300,000. In doing that, we would save ourselves from not having an increase this year. The board, when I shared my idea with them, they had already seen it in the podcast, but when I tried to talk about it at the budget meeting last week, there was no appetite to want to do that. We, as I said before, when we are elected by you, the members, to represent you, we will invariably be tasked with making some difficult, in some cases, gut-wrenching decisions. And it's incumbent upon us as board members to have the courage to make such decisions and not just ignore it and not just kick the can down the road. We are currently living in a very difficult contracting economy, whereby we are seeing major corporations that are doing the heavy work and really going through their business, going through their P&L, looking to where they can shave expenses, maintain shareholder value, and maintain their profitability. And in many cases, as I shared on the 18th of February podcast, many of these major companies are reducing headcount. They don't want to do that, but that's a business decision that they had to make. your board does not even want to entertain looking at reduction of staff. They don't have the courage, and that's unfortunate. It's a gut-wrenching decision, as I said, to have to make a decision to lay off people, because it affects not only themselves, but it affects their families. And those decisions are made as a last resort. But East Highlands Ranch, in my 32 years that I've been here, have never looked at expenses in a detailed manner. And by law, we have until 30 days minimum prior to the start of the fiscal year to get out the annual disclosure to the membership. And that annual disclosure includes the new fiscal year budget. So even though the time frame was tight, I suggested to the board last week that we not approve the budget, and instead within the first week, the second week at the most of March, that we get together and that we have a board workshop on this budget and we thoroughly look at every single position. That would still allow us time to adopt the board or adopt the budget and still get it out in a timely manner. No appetite, no courage to want to do that. So as a result, the fiscal year 27 budget that contains a $12 assessment increase each month was approved 4-1. I was the only one that dissented and did not approve of the fiscal year 27 budget. So again, $12 increase beginning May 1st for every single homeowner. On top of that, for those of you that live in the fire abatement areas, you have a $5 increase, and the 12 homes in Blossom Trails, I think it's a $22 or a $26 increase on top of the 12. So moving on to the regular board meeting. Now, and also in that February 18th podcast, I closed talking about a water leak that had been going on for at least 4 hours before I had to go out there and shut the irrigation off myself because staff failed to do their job. And when you look at the item that was before the board in January and again last month, it's the Bledsoe Gulch. And the Bledsoe Gulch is on the southeast corner of Baseline and Church. And for those of you that have looked inside the gulch and down inside, you would have seen that the concrete drainage has been buckled over the years and that the erosion of the soil is quite significant. And it's been this way for the last 5 or 6 years. And in January, staff brought 2 proposals before the board. One was from Signature Landscaping, and the other was from Hudson Construction. And I made the comment in an earlier podcast that for the life of me, I did not understand why staff was going to consider employing the services of a landscaping company to do what is basically an engineering job. And that explained the disparity between the 2 bids of roughly about $250,000, $300,000. But in any event, staff said that they would bring back a 3rd proposal to the board in February, and they did just that. I will say that staff was able to obtain last year a grant of $100,000. I think it's $108,000 total to put forth towards the reconstruction of this gulch. But unfortunately, staff, TMT, and management here at on-site at EHR again failed to do their job. And I, as a director, I'm not gloating here, but I'm just pointing out a significant issue. As a director, I had to do their job. And let me explain what I mean by that. So we have 3 bids from 3 different contractors to reconstruct the Bledsoe Gulch. And I did what any of you would do if you were hiring a contractor. You would vet this contractor to make sure, first and foremost, that they are properly licensed. And all of you can fact check me because I'm going to reveal to you the license number of each of these contractors. And I encourage you to go on the state contractors licensing board, just as I did. It took me 30 seconds per bid, a minute and a half, to confirm whether or not these vendors these contractors were properly licensed, because staff and management couldn't do that. So the first one was Signature Landscaping. Their license number is 1104596. Again, 1104596. Lo and behold, I find that Signature Landscaping is properly licensed for their business. They have a C27, which covers landscaping and some incidental small hardscape work for their landscaping projects. What they do need in order to do this reconstruction of the Bledsoe Gulch is a Class C engineering or a C12 earth moving and a C31 traffic control. They don't have any of those, so they are not, in my opinion, qualified and licensed to do the job. Moving on to the second bid was Hudson Construction. Now, in my opinion, Hudson Construction has the most complete bid. They're the most expensive, but in my opinion, the most complete. They have a Class B license, and their license number is 818121. They have a Class B, which is a building contractor license. Now, they could do the gulch work if the gulch work was incidental to the structure they were building. But because it was not, and it's a standalone project, unfortunately, Hudson is not properly licensed to do this work. Again, they would need a Class A engineering or a C12 earth moving in conjunction with a C31 traffic control. They provide traffic control in their bid, but they don't have the license to do it. They don't have the C31. The third bid that staff brought to the board last month was Larry Jacinto Construction. Their license number is 458118. And thankfully, one of the three bids that staff brought to the board is properly licensed. Larry Jacinto has a Class A engineering, and they also have a C31 traffic control. So of the three bids that staff brought to the board, only one was eligible and properly licensed to do the work. The board decided to table the reconstruction and the approval of any of these bids for the time being until staff and management can properly do their jobs and thoroughly vet each of these contractors or any supplemental contractors they may bring forth to, at the very least, ensure that they are properly licensed. So it's quite a shame that a director has to do the job of staff. As a director, I fully expect management and staff to vet every single contractor and vendor they bring to the board prior to bringing their proposals to the board. And as a homeowner, as a member of EHR, you too should have that same expectation. So just as members last month complained about the value we are getting from TMT, I basically am saying the same thing. Well, it's very upsetting. What are we getting for the $16,000 a month that we are paying TMT on top of paying on-site management? What value are we receiving when they can't even take a minute and a half and just take the time to vet these contractors to make sure they're properly licensed? So I wanted to share that all with you. So I hope we will continue to experience double-digit turnout month over month. For those of you that have never been to a board meeting, I would encourage you to attend. I think once you attend and once you see the board in action and you see how we discuss the issues and what issues we do discuss, I think you'll have an appetite to want to return. So I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank you all for supporting the Ranch Report podcast. And if you like this podcast, make sure you hit that like button and the subscribe button. Until the next time, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.